In the constantly changing world of fundability, the big question is this: how are entrepreneurs and real estate investors like us, ones who want to grow our businesses and who are tired of paying for really expensive alternative lending, how do we tap into the most inexpensive money available and do it without the hassle of typical borrowing? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. Welcome to the Get Fundable podcast with your host, Merrill Chandler.
Welcome back, everybody. Merrill Chandler here, your host of the Get Fundable podcast. Now, in this episode, we're literally going to be, there's a scam that is just kind of rocking the nation in a bad way, and we're going to be talking about it and what to watch out for, and how this scam actually can be, is just one more version of the ways in which you have been, many of us have been taken advantage of because we don't know the truth of the matter. So when we come back, we're going to be talking about the Social Security Administration scam of the decade and what we can do about it, how to fight back, and how to protect ourselves. So I'll see you in just a moment. All right, guys. This is a fun one for you. We're talking about this Social Security scam that has been it's been going on for a while now, but it is hitting all new record highs of individuals who are susceptible to it, believe it, are literally putting money in the hands of the fraudsters. So a little bit of background. I want to start out and kind of give you an idea of what people are hearing and what's going on, and detail how this is all working. So I'm going to share my screen here just for a second, and let's go here. All right, so you can see my screen. Listen to this recording. This is on the Federal Trade Commission's Consumer Protection site. All right. And this is just an example. This is not the only one that's out there, but this is an example of how to protect or what's going on and the types of calls that you might be getting. All right. So let's listen.
Enforcement agencies to suspend your Social Security number on an immediate basis, as we have received suspicious trails of information in your name. The moment you receive this message, I need you to get back to me on my department division toll-free number, that is 1-888-952-5554. I repeat, 1-888-952-5554. Verify the last 4 digits of your Social Security number when you call to better assist you with this issue. Now, if I don't hear a call from you, we will have to issue an arrest warrant under your name and get you arrested. So get back to me as soon as possible. Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to stop the share of that, and then we're going to have a little talk here. First of all, there's some problems if we have eyes to see and ears to hear, if we know what we're looking for, there are problems in this recording. First, there and get you arrested. I've never heard a law enforcement officer ever say and get you arrested. I've never also, they say an arrest warrant. The vast majority will say a warrant for your arrest, because there are other types of warrants, right? A warrant for your arrest versus an arrest warrant. And a department division, the vast majority of this sounds like it's being translated from a foreign language by people who may not necessarily know the English language as their first language and doing that. Now, all that aside, people have been are susceptible to this. Even in our own team, we had this conversation, and one of our team members was saying, what scares me about this is it sounds like an Amber Alert or the recorded announcement for the emergency broadcast system, right? So I do not want to minimize this, because so far, according to a group of people who have who testified in Congress about this process, over $38 million have been shipped offshore to accounts in order to protect people. So let's take a look. Even in our own state, my beloved state of Utah, there was an example, and I'm reading from the Buck County Courier-Times here in Utah about a situation. So I want to share this with you, and I am going to read it because I want you guys to see exactly how powerful this what's happening. Anderson, the wife of a Utah state legislator who admittedly avoids television and rarely listens to the radio, said her ordeal started on December 6, 2019, 2 months ago, with a phone call to her cell phone from a man claiming to be with the Social Security Administration. She said he told her that her Social Security number was connected to a car at a bloody crime scene along the Mexican border in Texas. Now, notice, this is a different type of scam, but it's still your Social Security number. That's what we, since we don't know the rules of this game, just like I talk about in all my podcasts, business funding fraud, etc. People who don't know what's actually part of the rules of engagement, let's call it. If we don't know, we're susceptible. So she said that. So a second man, posing as a federal agent, warned Anderson, presumably when she called the 800 number or otherwise, posing as a federal agent, warned Anderson that her family was in danger from Mexican drug cartels using her Social Security number, and the only way to protect her money from being seized would be to transfer it to a safe offshore account in Hong Kong. Anderson followed the man's instructions over the next few days, even rejecting a friend's questions about it being a scam, and eventually wired $154,000 and change to an overseas account. Guys, I'm not, let's not go there. Nothing is stupid if we are afraid and we feel like the gun is pointed at our head. Now, in this case, she felt like the gun was pointed at her head, and so she made the things that were going to protect her family, protect her assets. You and I, we'd never know what the gun looks like that's pointed at our head when we are unaware of how the game is played. All right. So let's take a look at a couple of things. Now, Brad, my partner and my chief marketing officer, he actually shared with a number of bullet points with our team and with myself to be able to share with you guys. Now, on the robocalls, which is what we call in the business, we call all of these just dialing for dollars. These guys are just sending recorded messages. Now, Brad's business Google Voice has received multiple versions of these calls multiple times a month. Now, if they hook you, if you call, if you start this process, if you push that first domino over, they'll send you copies of warrants that are about to be issued. They're literally going to falsify documents that say this is the money that's going, and presumably this is what had happened to the wife of the Utah legislator. They turn on scare tactics, rushing you to move money before it is seized. And they try to get you to protect your money in offshore accounts. Now, so further in this article, the gentleman who was U.S. Senator Susan Collins, a Republican of Maine, she's the chairwoman of the Aging Committee, because many of our elderly and our senior citizens are susceptible to these types of scams. So she was saying in the hearing that over $38 million have been shipped offshore from these types of scams. And people are too embarrassed to even talk about it. So that 38 is how much has been reported, not the ones who said, oh, I lost all my savings, or I sent X amount to test it out, or otherwise. You guys remember, it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, there was the email scam where the Nigerians were saying, hey, we got to get money out of the country. Please send us information. And they had an entire process to where you were sending literally $500 or $5,000 in order to secure the release of hundreds of millions of dollars. These scams happen over and over and over, and our senior citizens are especially susceptible because, just my opinion, but many times they're susceptible because their new technology is being used where we may not have all of the resources or experience with what is real on Facebook, if we even know what that means, or Instagram or email, etc. All right, we don't know that the all of the protocols that happen. Whereas millennials today, our Gen Zs today, are used to seeing scam things all the time. They call that scam dating profiles. They call it being catfished when somebody's posing to be somebody else. I mean, it's part of the culture for our younger generations, but our older generations don't necessarily have the same levels of sophistication. And these robo-dialers are churning through tens or hundreds of thousands of people to get through this. So Senator Collins said that that first of all, no government agency is going to use a robo-dialer or an automated system to have you do anything. They're not going to tell you it's time to vote. They're not going to tell you that you need to move money out of the country, or that your social security number or your identity has had problems. Now, remember, we've talked in our boot camp and in my book, both of which, getfundablebootcamp.com and getfundablebook.com. You can find out how these very types of scams are being perpetrated on folks who don't know anything about business credit. So the scams cross the gambit. It's not about where the scams are. It's about where the lack of sophistication, or forgive me, the ignorance of the audience is. And when I say ignorance, I'm not talking about that anybody's playing dumb, or it's not your fault. When we have opportunities to learn, we need to take those opportunities, and that's why I wanted to get this broadcast. Get Fundable to the folks over at Credit Sense, going into Insider Secrets and Funding Hackers private Facebook group. Everybody needs to know what we're up against and how to stop these things. Now, we're going to drop a couple. First of all, in the section, we're going to drop the article about the Utah legislature, the woman who was a participant in this process, and we're also going to drop a phone number and a website where you can see what the top 10 scams in America are. Right? What didn't make that list are business funding scams, because it's too narrow of a market. But I'm telling you, go to getfundablebook.com, go to Get Fundable Bootcamp. Oh, I'm sorry. The Bucks County is a Pennsylvania individual, but the individual we're talking to. Okay, the source the source was from Utah, but the article is from Pennsylvania. Thank you. Sky, my producer, is nailing it here. So we want to make sure that you guys know that an IRS scam has been in the #1 spot on this top 10 list for 5 straight years. So this Social Security Administration scam, your Social Security card, is just one more that's vying for an unfortunate popularity of what is being of what our citizens are being susceptible to because of the lack of knowledge. So guys, protect your loved ones. Make sure share this link with your family, with your friends. Get the information out to your people so that everybody is protected. They know what's coming up against them, and we are doing everything to stay on top of this ourselves. This article literally came out less than 2 weeks ago, and besides all the stuff that Brad has been receiving himself. So guys, keep the faith, protect yourselves, learn as much as you can. And when it comes to, but just know that we're all in this. We're at the Get Fundable site. We're at the Funding Hackers, the Insider Secret sites, Facebook pages, because we are committed to building our businesses and funding our businesses. And there are just as many scams and and fraudsters who are trying to take advantage of your lack of knowledge when it comes to that. So check out my book, check out the boot camp. You gotta arm yourself with knowledge so that you know what's legit out there and what is not. This is Merrill Chandler. Happy to be throwing these knowledge bombs out there. Protect yourselves, guys, by learning everything you possibly can, and please share this post everywhere you can, especially with your senior relatives, folks who may not have the sophistication to see what a catfish is, as our younger generation calls anybody who's posing as somebody else. Godspeed. God bless. You guys take care of yourself and be well. Bye now.
Thank you for listening to the Get Fundable podcast. Please leave comments because Merrill would love to read about your aha moments from this episode. And be sure to visit getfundable.com to read our blog, get important links, join our community, and much, much more, like ordering Merrill's tell-all book that is changing the world, The New F Word. And you got to tell your friends about this podcast because we want them to get fundable too.